Demos and presentations are a very integral part of a software engineer's life. Some of these demos you might want to give it on a live meeting or on a live stage, but there are circumstances wherein you might want to record a demo video or you might want to record a presentation so that it can be shared on the internet. You don't have to be a Christopher Nolan or a Sanjay Leela Bhansali to make such videos. All that you need is a little bit of time, a little bit of patience, and a little bit of those free tools which are available on the internet, which you can use and come up with beautiful presentation using which you can really impress the world. Today I'm going to talk to you about a very simple approach how you can plan and execute recording a demo or a presentation. There are various ways in which you can actually record a demo or a presentation. One is a talking head or a talking to a camera type of shot wherein it looks something like what you're seeing now, wherein the presenter is directly talking to the camera and presenting the topic on which he is speaking. Second thing might be something like a talking head shot along with the presentation which is running on the system, which can be recorded using a screen recording software. He can even expand it to have a demo which can be run, and that can also be recorded using a screen recording software. But somebody who is very shy, he can probably take an approach of recording only the presentation and the demo part, and he can do a voiceover so that he can explain what exactly is that he's talking about. Now, let's break it up into three different parts. What is the thing that is required to make this happen? First thing is you as a person doing a talking head shot wherein you go and record on a camera what is that you want to present. Second thing is this PPT and the demo part, which you usually run it on the system and you can capture it using the screen recording softwares. The third part is putting all these things together in the form of editing. And people usually get very carried away with this whole editing concept because they feel that they have to use complicated or very expensive tools which can make them get a very beautiful end result. But that's not really the case. There are so many free tools available on the internet, and some of them are pre-installed on the system that you are using, which you can make use of to come up with some beautiful presentations. When it comes to the talking to the camera type of shot, there are so many things that you can use to make sure that you record this. One is a very basic stuff, which is you can use your own webcam, which is present on your laptop or the MacBooks. Second thing is slightly improve the quality by using something like your mobile phone, which is there. And the cameras on the mobile phone are very superior, and the videos that you can record with come out really beautiful. The third approach is slightly more expensive, which I don't think so many can afford, is by using something like a DSLR camera and recording the talking head shot, wherein the end result will be far more cinematic and far more presentable compared to what you can get on a phone or probably even a webcam. But make sure that whenever you are doing a recording, be it on a webcam, be it on a phone or on a camera in the form of a DSLR or a mirrorless, make sure that these points are covered. First and foremost thing is to make sure that the camera is always at the eye level. Never keep the camera above your eye level or below the eye level. What happens when you keep the camera above or below your eye level is that the visual what you get is not very pleasing, and it gives you a very awkward angle in which the viewers are seeing your presentation. So it's always better to have your camera at the eye level. But when it comes to you using the webcam, which is available on your laptop, by the virtue of the way we use the laptop, we usually keep it on the lap or probably on the teapot or on the working table or probably sometimes even on the dining table. Just try to make sure that you just elevate the height of the place where you have kept your laptop so that the camera is at your eye level, and the end result what you get will be really very pleasing. Second and the most important thing is your background. Make sure that you have a plain or at least a pleasing background and it's not very busy, because the moment you have some sort of a disturbance which is happening in the background, the attention of the viewer goes to the background rather than what you are talking about. The third most important thing is the lighting. Always make sure that you are facing a light and not the light behind you. So the best thing is to do is sit in such a way that there is a light source in front of you, or in the best case you are facing a window so that your face is very well illuminated, and that will be very helpful because the viewer can concentrate on you and what you're talking rather than the viewer seeing a silhouette shot. The next most important thing is the audio. Irrespective of you recording the audio when you're talking to the camera or when you're doing a voiceover, always make sure that you give the maximum attention to the audio. The best thing to do here is to use your headphones. Use the headphones which probably come along with your mobile phones, and that should really serve your purpose. And if you're really worried about the fact that you're using your headphones and that will come in the video and that might not look good, what I would suggest is pick up a simple clip and clip on the mic portion of your headphones to somewhere near your shirt or on the top, just out of the view of your camera, so that at least the mic is closer to your mouth rather than you talking directly into the mic which is there on the webcam or on the camera. The closer the mic is to your mouth, the better is the quality of your voice, and also that will also ensure that there is a little bit of suppression of the background noise because of the signal to noise ratio. So always ensure that you use a headphone and the mic portion of the headphone is closer to your mouth, and that will give you the best results. Last and the most important point in recording your video, especially the talking to the camera type of shoot, is that try to come up with a list of points that you want to talk about, like in the form of a bullet points or something, so that you can use it as a reference whenever you're talking. There is no harm in taking multiple takes, but make sure that you give adequate amount of time before you talk and after you talk, so that you can clip the starting and the ending and you can use the correct portion of your recording. The second part is your screen recording for the presentations or the demo. There are so many free tools which are available. There are paid tools also which is available, but let's not get carried away by all those paid tools or probably even the complicated ones which is available, which might make it look a little bit overwhelming at times. When it comes to the Mac by default comes with Quicktime Player, and it has an inbuilt movie recording, screen recording, and also audio recording feature which you can make the best use of. And when it comes to the editing on the Mac, there is definitely this free option in the Mac in the form of iMovie, which is really sophisticated but very easy to use. And I'll definitely show you how to do that in some time from now. Secondly, when it comes to the Windows, don't be let down because there are so many tools which are available even on the Windows. A tool like Camstudio, which can be used for screen recording, can come in really very handy. And the free editing software, which is the Windows Movie Maker, is something which we can use and make sure that we join all these clips that we have recorded and come up with a final demo piece. All these things I'll show you how to do it in a very simple and straightforward way in this video. Enough of the talking to the camera type of shots. Now let's move to the system and learn how to do the screen recording for presentations and demo, and learn how to put all these things together in an editing software and present it as a final deliverable.
Before we move over to learn how to record a screen, especially the presentations and demo, and how to edit it, first let's have a look at the structure of a presentation. Please keep in mind, and this is not a rule or this is not a standard. This is basically a guideline which you can use for any kind of presentations that you might be doing. So to begin with, have a title slide wherein it talks about what you're talking about and also probably your name or the organization that you represent. The second slide could be about you. Rather than saying could be, I would say let it be about you so that you can introduce to the audience who you are, what you're representing, your organization, or probably even representing your team. The third slide could be a problem statement. That is where you are explaining what is the issue or what is the use case that you're trying to talk about in the presentation. The next slide should be your proposed solution, wherein you talk about how you have come up with a solution which will solve the issue that you have just explained, and how the architecture works, how the flow of information works, everything. Probably it's not none of these should be a single slide, but you can expand it to have your flow charts or architecture diagrams and things like that. Next slide, you can probably talk about the challenges, be it regarding the implementation or be it the challenges that you might face after the implementation is done. This is totally conditional. You may or may not have this one, but it's always good to expose the challenges so that if in the audience there is someone who wants to come and give you inputs on how to overcome the challenge, that will be really helpful. So it's better you speak about the challenges so that you can get some inputs if required. Last and the most important thing should be your demo. Just put a slide on demo here, but this is where you actually switch over to your actual application. It could be a browser or your terminal or whatever you want to use it. You just move over to that particular application and continue with your presentation. So this is like a overall structure, which is sort of like, as you can see, it's a logical flow of information, and probably can even end up either the presentation or the demo with a Q&A. But that's again, it comes in the end. I thought that this presentation structure would be useful for people who are doing such a video presentation or a demo for a very first time. So, and hence I thought like I'll include a small bit about this also.
Okay, now let's move over to the second section, which is screen recording. Screen recording can be used for both recording your presentation, that is your PPTs, as well as recording your demos. To begin with, I'll be showing you what are the tools that we'll use and how to record and what is the settings that you have to use before starting your screen recording. First, we'll go through all these things on a Mac, that is doing a screen recording on your Mac, followed by editing your screen recording or videos in a Mac. And then in the later part of the video, we'll go through how to do the similar things, that is screen recording and editing on a Windows. So let's begin with Mac for now. So the app that we'll be using for doing screen recording is called Quicktime Player. This comes default with your Mac OS, and you can access it using applications or using Spotlight. You can just type QuickTime Player and the app opens. The very first time the app opens, you'll see a Finder window open up like this, which is basically the place where all the saved QuickTime files are there. It could be screen grabs, audio files, or even the video files. So you can go ahead and click cancel here. Uh, Now what you need to do is go to the file menu, and the first three things what you see there is something which is very important for you. So you can see that QuickTime Player gives you an option to do a new movie recording, new audio recording, new screen recording. New movie recording is what you use to probably record your talking to the camera type of video, wherein you can use that option. The default webcam which is there on your system will be activated, and you can start recording your video there. New audio recording is an option which we can use to do voiceover. You can record your voice notes or any voiceovers that you require for your presentation. The third thing is what we'll be mainly talking about now, which is screen recording. Screen recording internally has an option wherein it can record voice also, and that is exactly the option that we'll look at now. The moment you click on new screen recording, this small toolbar and option bar comes up in the bottom. The first three options what you see from the left are something related to taking screen grabs or screenshots, so that is not much of an importance for us now. We will look at this next two options, which is mainly towards the recording of the screen. So one of the option is to record the complete screen. Another option is to select a portion of the screen which you might want to record. I would personally prefer or suggest you record the entire screen. So that's a good approach. Now the next option what you see, this is important. This is where you do all your settings. Now if you see here in the options, you basically see four sections. Let's have a look at it one by one. The top option, which is basically save to, this is a place where your screen recording goes automatically.
and by default you can keep it as desktop or documents default folder, or you want to mail it, or you want to message it. I would personally suggest you click on other location and keep a specific folder on your system. It could be on your desktop or within your documents folder, but create a specific folder in your system where all your, probably I would say, screenshots and screen recordings go and get saved automatically. In my case here, I've created a folder called Quicktime Player Recording, so that's exactly where my recordings will go. So the next option is called timer. It gives you options like none, 5 seconds, and 10 seconds. This is basically a timing cue that happens in the beginning of your recording. So the moment you hit record, it'll either give you a 5 second or a 10 second preparation time so that you're all set and you can start doing your recording or voiceover. My suggestion here is to keep at least 5 seconds. None is something which you can avoid. 10 is too much of an overhead. So the moment you keep 5 seconds and if you click record, it will give you 5 seconds of time to open up your application on top of where you want to do your screen recording, or probably put it into full screen. And also it gives you that 5 seconds of time for you to prepare to start talking or doing the voiceover for that presentation. My personal choice is 5 seconds, but if you feel that you need more time, 10 is definitely an option. But again, I would suggest use this option so that it gives you that preparation time instead of the recording starting the very moment you click record. The next option is microphone. Here, me personally, I'm using an external microphone to record this voiceover, and you can use a built-in mic like the way I've shown it in the screen here. Use the built-in mic, but as I told you before, plug in your headphones, what came with your mobile, so that you have the mic closer to your mouth. So even in that option, you will make sure that you select built-in microphone, because the audio is getting routed through that headphone jack. So make sure that the correct mic is selected. The last option is basically show floating thumbnail, and remember last selection, or show mouse clicks. Mouse clicks, you can probably leave it unchecked. Show floating thumbnail is when once you're done all your recording, or once you're taken the screenshot, it'll show what exactly has been done. So if you disable show floating thumbnail, it'll automatically get saved on your system. But if you enable it, the video that you recorded, that is the screen grab that you recorded, that is a screen recording that you did, it'll get shown, the video will get shown once you stop the recording, and you can view it and then save it. So that is your personal choice. You can want to automatically save it, or you want to preview it and then save. But these are the options. Remember, last selection is basically to ensure that none of the settings that you have done will get overridden every time you open QuickTime Player. So now that we have set all this option, our next job is to go ahead and record a presentation with a voiceover. That is basically we are doing a screen recording wherein we are running through our presentation, and while doing that we'll do a voiceover also. For the sake of this demonstration, I will use the same PPT what I showed just a while back, and I'll record a voiceover for it. So all that you have to do at this point of time is click the record button, and you will see a countdown timer right next to the record button. In this 5 seconds of time, I would suggest you open up your PPT file, put it in full screen, or probably put it even in the presentation mode. And the moment it goes to 0, that's when your actual screen recording starts. When the screen record is actually running, you can see that there is a small icon on the top toolbar, which is basically indicated by a circle with a square inside it, which basically indicates a stop button. So proceed further, go ahead and record your presentation, that like as if you're presenting to somebody in your team or somebody in a proper meeting or something like that. So all that you have to use is your actual Keynote or Microsoft PowerPoint. Scan through all your slides, talk about whatever you want to talk, and once you're done with that, before ending, just give about like say 1 or 2 seconds of pause and then go and click on the stop button which is there on the toolbar. So this will make sure that your complete screen recording process is complete. If you have selected that floating thumbnail option, your video file will pop up immediately. You can hit Ctrl S and it will save it in the location that you have chosen. But if you have not chosen that, it will automatically get saved in the default location which is there under options. This is exactly how you do screen recording using Quicktime Player in macOS. Hi, today we will go through how to create recorded presentations and demo. A quick note about me, I am Shiv Kumar. I am a techie and a freelance audiovisual content creator. The problem statement for today's presentation is about how you can go ahead and create audiovisual presentations and demos using either a Mac or a Windows. The proposed solution is to use the tools which is already available in your system, which is something like a Quicktime Player and iMovie in a Mac, and probably some tools like Camstudio and Windows Movie Maker in Windows. The challenges are usually with the end user, wherein they usually get impatient and they get carried away by looking at all the tools and options that are available. So this whole presentation is about how to make their life easier by showing them step-by-step information on how to create recorded demo content. Now let's move over to the demo. Now that the presentation recording is done, you might have noticed there are a few mistakes in between. In one of the sentences, I gave a huge pause in middle of the sentence, and almost during the end of the presentation recording, I coughed. That was intentional. And once the recording is done, there is a small gap or pause for about a couple of seconds. So we will use this clip in iMovie and then we will edit it, and I'll show you how to remove those pauses in between, how to remove this cough and the silence in the end. You can translate this to whatever repeated narrations that you might have done, or any mistakes that you did, or anything like that, or any background noise that came in. You can probably use the same technique, whatever I'll be teaching now, to edit out those parts. Basically, cutting and removing all those portions in an audio or a video clip which is not required. We will do that using iMovie. Now let's move over to iMovie. So the very first time you open iMovie, this is a screen that you will be welcomed with. So this has an option to create a new project. A project is where we will store all our footage. We will create a timeline and then edit the timeline, and that's what we will export as a final deliverable. I'll explain you in detail what do I mean by an event or a timeline, everything in just a bit. But for now, we'll go ahead and create a new project. We'll click on create new. So we'll say we want to create a movie. So it's created a new movie project in today's date. It gives you an option to import media. This place, what I'm highlighting here, my media, this is where you copy all your footages to. It could be screen grabs, it could be screen recordings, voiceover, everything you have to copy here. Whatever you copy here, if you double click on them, you will see it here in the source window, which is basically the place where you can preview what is that you already have. The bottommost portion is your timeline. Timeline is where you basically copy all your footages, you trim it, you basically play around with your complete footage and build that final end product. So now what I'll do is I'll quickly copy my screen recording video file into the my media section of iMovie. So now I have my screen recording which is copied. So what I'll do now is I'll basically click and drag and drop to the timeline below. So this basically has created a timeline. This is a timeline of the screen recording that I did, wherein I went through this presentation that I have created, and this is what it created. So if you remember, this is what we need to edit, this is what we have created, and this is what we need to edit. We will not just restrict ourselves to just editing this file. I'll also show you how to add titles, how to add more screen grabs or more files into this. But if you remember, there were about 3 mistakes which we have to correct in this particular movie file, which is one, there was a pause in between a sentence in the beginning. Second thing is that cough that I did almost in the end of the video, and we have to remove that silence once the video is over. So we'll quickly go over the video. We'll scrub to that particular place wherein we had that silence. The vertical line, what you find on the timeline, that is your cursor. So wherever you take, it'll and click there, and if you click on the play, it'll start playing from that particular position. So what I'll do now is I'll take my cursor to the point where I wanted my screen recording demo to begin. So that's exactly the point wherein I told hi. So I'll keep my cursor there. The moment I take my mouse to the end of the timeline, you can see that it has transformed itself into a bidirectional arrow. So I can click there and I can drag it till the place where my timeline marker is there. So that will clip off all the video or audio which is there before it. So I probably started off by telling this is a meeting or something like that, which I didn't want it. So I just clipped that one off. Next, what I'll do is I will go and trim the end wherein I had that silence. So I'll go to the end and I'll play the video file wherein I'll say let's go over the demo. Okay, I'll stop at this point. I know that this is where I have to stop my recording. So I'll take my mouse till the end. Now you can see that the mouse pointer has become a bidirectional arrow, which is basically it indicates that you can stretch on either direction. You can't increase the timeline, but once you have it at a given point, you can stretch it on either side. So at this point, we want to reduce the length. We will pull it, we'll click and hold and pull it towards the left hand side. This will make sure that the right hand portion of the clip, whichever was there after the cursor, is now clipped off. So you can notice that the moment I say let's move over to the demo, the clip ends there. Now comes the key part, which is how do you split your timeline into multiple pieces so that you can remove all the pauses or disturbances, or in my case, the cough that I had in the end, how to do that. Take your cursor to the point where you want to cut the particular timeline. So you basically have to chop the timeline into 2 pieces, wherein you chop it exactly in the beginning and the end of the silence or the disturbance. So in my case, the very first part wherein I gave a pause here. So if you listen at this particular point, so I just stopped at create. So what I'll do now is I want to delete everything which is there after this for probably a second or two, and I want to delete until the point wherein I started talking again. So to clip the timelines, what you need to do is you just right click on the circle which is there on the timeline, and you can see there's an option called split clip. The shortcut for that is Command B. You can probably use the keyboard shortcut, or you can go ahead and click on split clip. So now if you see, the timeline is split into two. There is one portion to the left of the cursor, another portion to the right. So now what I'll do is I'll go and place the cursor just before the point where I started talking. I'm telling all these things because if you notice on the blue strip below, I can see my audio waveform. This is exactly the point where I started talking, and it is indicated by a small peak. If you feel that your voice level is too low and you're not able to notice the audio waveform, there is a thin horizontal line which is there almost close to the blue bar in the bottom and your visual representation of your video. You can click on that and you can drag it up, which will increase the audio level of your screen recording. Now you can see that compared to the left side, the right side has a slightly higher volume. So now you are able to notice that I can keep the cursor right exactly a point where I started talking. Now I'll go and right click here, split the clip. So now our entire timeline is split into 3 pieces. The first portion where I started talking, and there's a small pause. Then again I started talking. I don't want this pause, so all that I do is I click on it and hit delete on my keyboard, and that portion is gone. Now if you put your cursor back to slightly before where I started speaking. And if you play that, so that's exactly what happens, which is the pause which is there, it is removed. Just because I had played around with the volume level, you might see a difference in the volume, but that's okay. We can sort all those things later. Now I have to go ahead and remove the coughing that I did almost in the end. So I can notice that the cough is somewhere here. So I'll go and place my cursor at that place, right click, split clip, and immediately after I finish the coughing, just before I told let's move over to the demo, I'll keep the cursor there, right click, split clip, click on the portion on which I was coughing, delete, and it is done. It's as simple as that. So this is exactly how you can use the whole technique of taking your cursor to the point where you want to split the clip and then selecting the whole stuff and deleting it. Just make sure that your audio levels on the timeline are visible, or probably you can wear a headphone and you can monitor it. So this is exactly how you can split the timeline into multiple pieces, and you can delete a certain piece or delete a certain segment which is not required, or if there is any issues with your recording, this is how you can go ahead and remove it. But we are done with editing our main presentation part. The next thing that is required probably is adding the demo recording, which you might have done separately. Add it to the main timeline and probably add a title to tell what this presentation is all about. So I've already copied a small video, which is basically the matrix video of the numbers floating around on the screen. So I'm using this as my demo video. So just like how we copied our main screen recording, copying of any other video file or a screenshot is exactly the same. All that you have to do is click on the video file, click and drag and drop it to wherever in the timeline that you want. So in my case, I want it in the end of the presentation. So I just drop it to the end. And just like what we did for the screen recording also, if you want to chop off a particular portion of a demo, or if you want to trim the beginning and the ending point, this is exactly the same. Just keep your cursor at the point where you want to clip the video, right click and do a clip video, and select the portion which you don't want and delete it using your keyboard. So it's as simple as that. So in this case, I will not do any clipping or any stuff, but I'll just copy the entire video as it is. The next most important thing that people would be interested in adding to their video is basically titles, which is the text. So if you notice here in the iMovie on the top, there are so many options called My Media, Audio, Title, Background, and Transitions. So I don't want to go with anything else other than My Media. This is a place where we store all our files. And I'll just touch upon the point about titles. So if you click on titles, you'll see so many templates which are available by default. These are basically styles wherein the text zooms in and zooms out, or it pans across the screen, or there's multiple colors or some flashy ones. Considering it is a professional presentation, I would suggest to use something very simple without any flashy animation. And for that purpose, I suggest what is known as centered. This is a very simple two-line title which you can use, and you can give your title of the presentation and probably the person who is giving the presentation using this title. So to use this, what you have to do is click on that particular template, drag and drop it to the place on the timeline where you want the title to be there. So in my case, I want it in the beginning of the presentation. So I just drag and dropped it in the very beginning of my timeline. I'll take my cursor and I'll keep it exactly in the middle. So you can see that whatever the default placeholder was there, which is title and subtitle, it is already highlighted here. If it is not, by any chance, you can see that on the top of the screen, there's option like T, there's a contrast symbol, there's something related to palette, there's a cropping symbol, everything. So you have to click on this title setting. After clicking on that particular template that we dragged onto the timeline, here we can just click here and go ahead and change it to whatever you want. So I'll go ahead and type in some random name. I'll just call it as video presentation, and instead of subtitle, I'll give my name. By default, this is the font that it comes with, which I'm personally not happy. So what I'll do is I'll just select the title of the video. You can see that there is a font option here. Select it, probably give something like this. And again, even the author name might give something simpler. And if you want to reduce the font size, there is an option for that. So once you are done, that's it. You just go and click anywhere else and just go ahead and play your timeline. Then you can see that your title and author name comes up immediately followed by your presentation. So at this stage, you're kind of done with your editing. Just probably review it twice or thrice to see that there's no mistakes or everything looks and sounds fine. And you've added the correct titles and you've added the correct demo and you have trimmed everything. So at this point, the only thing that is left is to export this video so that you can share it online through any of the video hosting sites like Vimeo or YouTube, or probably share it to other people using things like Dropbox or Box and things like that. So to save your file, all that you need is go to File menu. There's an option called Share. Inside that, there are so many options, which is like you can share your video through email or directly to YouTube or prepare it to be uploaded into Facebook or Vimeo. We are not going to do everything. We will just save it as a file. We'll just click on File. So you get an option to go ahead and give the name and everything. So I'll just retain it as demo video. Tag iMovie. I won't change anything. Resolution, just keep it at say like full HD or HD at least. Don't reduce the resolution to lower value like 540 and all. Just keep it to 720 or 180. Again, it depends on the size, the end size. The moment you change to 720p, you might have noticed that the size reduced to 32 megabytes. But I would suggest keep it at the maximum resolution. Quality is higher, compression is faster. I'll click on next and then it'll ask me where to save. I'll just probably go ahead and save it in desktop. I'll call it demo video by Shiv and I'll click on save. And you can see on the right hand side, it will show you the progress. It's sort of like a clock. So once it is completely done, you'll get a notification telling that share successful, which is basically it has saved your file, which is demo video. So at this point, you can just click on show or you go to your folder where you have saved it and you can just pick the file and start sharing it to the people whom you want to. That's as simple as that. Hi, today we will go through how to create recorded presentations and demo. A quick note about me, I am Shiv Kumar. I am a techie and a freelance audiovisual content creator. The problem statement for today's presentation is about how you can go ahead and create audiovisual presentations and demos using either a Mac or a Windows. The proposed solution is to use the tools which is already available in your system, which is something like a Quicktime Player and iMovie in a Mac, and probably some tools like Camstudio and Windows Movie Maker in Windows. The challenges are usually with the end user, wherein they usually get impatient and they get carried away by looking at all the tools and options that are available. So this whole presentation is about how to make their life easier by showing them step-by-step information on how to create recorded demo content. Now let's move over to the demo.
Now that you have learned how to do the screen recording on a Mac using QuickTime Player and also how to do some basic editing on your video by using iMovie, you just learned how to create an final end product, which is a demo or a presentation video using the tools which are available in the Mac OS. Now let's quickly jump over to Windows and try to see what are the options that we have to do the screen recording and also to perform some basic editings like what we just did now.
So in Windows, the two main softwares that we'll be using are the Camstudio, which will be mainly used for the screen recording, and Shotcut Editor. So that's the editor that we'll be using. Compared to what I just referencing to what I just told in the beginning of the video, we will not be using the Windows Movie Maker. I didn't want to go and edit off those section, but we will be using this very simple and straightforward to use editor called Shotcut Video Editor, which is apparently an open source video editor. I'll also give you the links to download these softwares, especially the Camstudio and the Shotcut Video Editor, in the description of this video. But when it comes to the Mac counterparts, the iMovie is something which you can download from App Store, and QuickTime is by default installed on the macOS. Now, when you download and install Camstudio, there are a few settings that you need to do before you start using it. So the very first time when you download the Camstudio and open it, and this is exactly how the application look like. It's a very simple, and probably I can call it like a crude application. It has all those record, pause, stop buttons, which are like big and bold. There are a few settings, as I told you, that you need to do. First and foremost is go to the region menu item and make sure that you select full screen. This is basically you identifying what region of the screen needs to be recorded. I would suggest you select it as full screen and leave it there. Let's not bother about a fixed region or a specific window. The second thing that you have to do is go into options and select the option which says record audio from microphone. By default it is at do not record audio, but while recording our presentation we might be doing the voiceover or probably while running the demo. So I would suggest go ahead and enable the record audio from microphone. The third option is in the toolbar itself. If you see that like the small sun kind of an icon that is there almost in the middle of the screen, that is an icon which you can click, which toggles between saving the file as either MP4 or AVI or SWF. So you can choose either of them. It's totally your personal choice. I would personally stick to either an MP4 or an AVI. SWF is a flash version, so I'm not sure if any of our video editors support it anymore. I didn't even bother trying it, but I would suggest either stick to AVI or MP4. Both of them are compatible for editing in the Shotcut Video Editor that we'll be using, and both of them run fine on Windows environment. So these are some of the changes that you have to do, which is basically defining the region and selecting the full screen option in this. Second thing is enabling the microphone to record our voice. Third is switching between one of the recording formats. Now what I'll do is I'll quickly go over and record a very basic, a very crude 5 to 10 second screen recording using Camstudio. I think probably in the screen you can directly see what all things I'm doing, what all errors I will probably introduce in the beginning and the end, which later on we will go ahead and edit it out when we are using the video editor. So let's switch over to presentation recording. So I'll be talking some random stuff now, so which we will be removing when we are editing this using Windows Movie Maker. Hi, this is Shiv and welcome to video presentation. And in this presentation, I'll be talking about how to create simple and elegant video presentation. This is the main body of the presentation where you'll talk about everything and anything about your presentation. This is now the last part of your presentation when you'll probably go to show some demo or take some questions from the audience. I'll be removing off this portion also. Thank you so much. We are done with the recording or the screen recording of the presentation that we want to give. The next main step for us is to do the editing. I initially thought that I would use Windows Movie Maker for the purpose of demonstrating the editing. But after doing a little bit of further research, I realized that the free version of it has a lot of limitations in it, and we might have to go in for the pro version, which is actually paid,
to get all the features or all the proper features that we need. So instead, compared to what I just told in the beginning, we will now be using an app called Shotcut, and this is a open source video editor. It's a very lightweight and a very safe application. This is available for both Windows and Mac. And for the sake of the demonstration, for now, I'll be running this on a Mac, but the steps, the screen, everything, all the options remain exactly the same. So instead of me going ahead and uh, reinstalling this entire app on my Windows laptop, I thought like I will run it on my Mac OS itself, and I'll show you how exactly to go ahead and do some basic editing using Shotcut application. So the very first time you open Shotcut application, the screen looks something like this. There is a small splash page which will ask you to identify the project folder, the project name, and also the video mode. We will probably leave the project folder and video mode as default. We'll go ahead and define what is the project name. I'll call it sample project, and I'll click on start. So at this point of time, all that you need to do is three things. One is go ahead and import your video files, which is your presentation video files and the demo video files, which you need to edit. Second thing is we will actually go ahead and edit and chop whatever is the unwanted portion off. The third portion is we will mainly go ahead and add a title in the beginning, and you can add wherever you want, but I'll just show you once as to how to add a title. And once all these three things are done, it's just a matter of exporting the final product and in the form of a video. So to import the clips, what you need to do is on the top left hand side on the menu bar or the toolbar, you have something called open file. You just have to click on open file and select the files which you want to import. Now that I have imported my two clips, you might probably seeing that my screen grab recording that's auto playing. I'll probably pause it for now. So what you need to do now is the steps is almost similar to what you did on a Mac. There we used iMovie. Probably I think this is a cue for the Mac users that if they need, they can go ahead and download and install Shotcut and do their editing here as well. But what we need to do here is make sure that we create a timeline with the video clips that we have. And once we have created the timeline, we will just cut the portions of the video which we don't want and we'll remove it. And once that is done, as I told you, we'll go ahead and add the titles. So first I'll go ahead and pull this first main presentation file into my timeline, which is in the bottom of the screen. So once I drag and drop, you might notice that the timeline is created. So the step now is to make sure that you get your cursor to the point where you want to cut the timeline. So I'll just go ahead and click it just before the point where I told hi. This is also the point where I actually put the presentation in a full screen mode and I started talking. So at this point is where I want to cut and remove everything from the left of the timeline. So what I'll do now is I have three options using which I can do the cut. One is I can do a right click and I can click on split at playhead, or probably I can use the keyboard shortcut, which is S, or in a simpler way, I can use this toolbar option in the timeline, which will actually go ahead and cut the timeline into two portions. So I'll click on split at playhead and you can notice that the timeline is now split into two portions. I'll click on the portion which I don't want. I'll right click on it and I can click on remove to remove this portion, or I can actually go ahead and use this minus or delete icon which is there in the timeline toolbar to remove that clip. So I'll remove this. So it automatically got snapped to the beginning of the timeline. Now I know that the last portion of it has to be removed, which I started talking about. We'll stop and move over to learn editing. I know this is exactly where I stopped the sensible part of talking. So I'll right click here, click on split at playhead, click on the portion which I want to delete, right click and hit remove. And as I told you, you can actually use the delete option here, or the keyboard shortcut for this is X. You can use the same technique if you want to remove anything from in between the video also. So like I
now trim the beginning and the ending of the presentation. But if you have a edit to make wherein you have to remove a portion in the center of the timeline, a similar thing can be followed, wherein you take your cursor exactly the place where you want to start cutting the timeline and to the end where you want to cut the timeline, and the center portion can be clicked and deleted. So this is exactly how you do the edit. Now what we will do is we will go ahead and pull our demo file and we'll place it at the end of this particular timeline. So I'll click, drag and drop, and it'll ask me overwrite. I just leave it there, it'll do. If there is an overlap of a video compared to what is already there on the timeline, it'll ask if you want to do any edits. That's where you can take a decision, but we are adding it to the end of the timeline. So now what we will do is, our main thing is now to go ahead and add the titles. To do that, we need to create some space in the beginning of the timeline so that I can insert my timeline text into it. So what I'll do now is I'll click and drag my demo file to the right. I'll just leave it there. I'll just click and drag my presentation file also to the right on my timeline. I have created a small space in the beginning. I mean, you can just slightly give a bigger space, but you can go ahead and remove the space when you're done with inserting of the title. So to add a title, what you need to do is go to the top toolbar and click on Open Other. Here, the second option, which is text, this is what you need to select. Click on text. In the pop-up, there is an option to type the text that you want to display. So I'll write it as video presentation recording demo, and I would go ahead and choose a background color. For the sake of my demo, I'll probably choose black, and I would say okay. Now this comes up on the screen. So anything that you see here can be edited, like you want to change the font, or you want to change the font size or color for that matter. Anything can be changed using the option which is there on the left. And if you are not happy with the place where it is there, you can actually go and click on the small circle button which is there on the screen, and you can move it up or down. I'll probably go ahead and keep it somewhere in the middle here. I'll leave it there. Now what you need to do is go ahead and add this title, whatever you have created, to your timeline. So I'll click on this and I'll drag and drop it to my timeline. You can see that it's already showing that it is added to the timeline. So this is exactly how you add a title to a timeline. You can add it anywhere. You can add it in the beginning. You can add it in between, like the point where you want to go from your presentation to demo. You can add it there also. You can add any number of titles anywhere. You can even overlay it on top of your video also. But for our demo purpose, I've just added it in the beginning. Now that it is done, I'll go ahead and close the gap between the files. So I'll just take it near. It'll automatically get attached to the previous clip because we have enabled the magnetic timeline. I will go ahead and click the demo file, take it near the presentation. It automatically gets attached. So now our file is done, which is basically we have created a intro title, we have edited our main presentation, and we've also added the demo that we might have wanted to add. The last part that is left now is to export this video into something which is shareable. Here again, the steps are very simple. On the top toolbar, you have an option called export. If you click on export, all that you need to do now is to choose a custom preset which is already there and export the file. For the sake of ease and quality, I would suggest you to use the H264 encoding, which will give you a MP4 file in the end. I would suggest you to take the high profile. Basically what happens in a high main or baseline profile is that it's basically the compression and file sizes that change. So I would suggest to take H264 high profile. Once you have selected the preset, click on export file. A pop-up will come asking you where do you want to save your output file. You can notice that the output is getting saved as a MP4. Go ahead and give a name for it. I'm choosing a desktop here. Click on save. Automatically you can see that on the right hand side there is a job which is created and it is running. Probably it will take a few seconds to a few minutes based on the size of your timeline. Once it is done, this file is ready for you to use and go ahead and share it, say on social media or probably on YouTube or Vimeo or wherever you want. So this is
the final output, what you get after this job is completed. So now you can see that I can see a green tick mark which indicates that the job is completed and the file is ready for viewing. So that's as simple as it. So this is exactly how you edit a video clip, multiple video clips, and you can go ahead and create one final presentation file. Though I showed this demo on a Mac, the steps are exactly the same even on a Windows. Hi, this is Shiv and welcome to video presentation. And in this presentation, I'll be talking about how to create simple and elegant video presentation. This is the main body of the presentation where you'll talk about everything and anything about your presentation. So now we learned how to go ahead and structure our presentation. What are the key essential parts of a presentation? How do we go ahead and record talking to the camera type of video? How do we go ahead and do a recording of a presentation in the form of a screen recording, be it on a Mac or on a Windows? Once you have recorded everything and even recorded your demo, I even showed you how to do some basic editing to remove the unwanted portion of your recording and come up with a final presentable video both on a Mac and Windows. Hope that was helpful for you guys and you were able to learn something new and something useful out of this probably a pretty long video. But if you have any queries on any part of the video, please feel free to reach out to me using the comment section below, and I'll try to make sure that I'll respond to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you again in the next one.